On the bustling decks of the Galactic Council station Axiom Prime, a hushed conversation unfolds in a secluded corner. Human diplomat Sarah Nguyen stands face to face with a visibly distraught alien from the Yulani species, whose vibrant, shimmering skin flickers dimly a sign of distress. "The Council has abandoned us," the Yulani says, voice trembling with desperation. "In 2 days, our planet will be razed for its cores, and my family. We have nowhere to go. You are my last hope, Sarah." Sarah's expression hardens with resolve as she replies, her voice low but fierce, "I will not let your family perish. We'll challenge the Council and save your people, no matter the cost." As they part ways, an encrypted message blinks alive on Sarah's device, signaling the start of a daring mission that could either save a species or ignite a galactic war. The grand hall of Axiom Prime Space Station, a resplendent hub of interstellar diplomacy, buzzed with activity. Delegates from distant corners of the galaxy mingled beneath its soaring arches, their voices forming a vibrant mosaic reflective of the cosmos's vast diversity. Amid this bustling array, Sarah Nguyen, a human diplomat, moved gracefully through the crowd. Her presence was distinguished not by the simplicity of her attire but by the keen intelligence that sparkled in her eyes. On the periphery of the hall, Sarah's attention was seized by a desperate whisper, diverting her from the usual diplomatic exchanges. In a shadowed alcove, she encountered Thalic, a representative of the Yulani, a species noted for their gentle disposition and the tragic exploitation of their planet's Hyperium-rich soil. "They're going to let Kinara perish, Sarah," Thalic confided, his voice laced with desperation. His normally luminous skin, a vibrant tapestry of shifting colors, now flickered dimly under the weight of his stress. "The Council has declared no aid for the lower castes. My family? All of Yulani. We've been forsaken." Sarah's expression hardened as she accepted a data chip from Thalic, laden with proof of the Council's callous mandate. "I promise you, Thalic, your people will not suffer in silence. We will find a way." As Thalic melted back into the shadows, Sarah's resolve solidified. The evening's gala, intended to celebrate galactic unity, now left a bitter taste in her mouth. She approached Ambassador Miles, her superior, who was deeply engaged in conversation with several high-ranking officials. "Sir, we need to address the Yulani situation immediately. The Council's decision." "Not now, Sarah," Ambassador Miles interrupted with a stern gaze. "We can't afford to stir controversy for every species with a tragic tale." "But sir, it amounts to genocide through neglect," Sarah persisted, her tone both low and firm. Miles cast a wary glance at the curious onlookers nearby. "We'll discuss this later. For now, maintain our stance and focus on the agenda." Frustrated yet resolute, Sarah excused herself from the hall, her mind teeming with the gravity of her discovery. In her quarters, surrounded by screens that displayed the stars silent witnesses to potential atrocities, she made a life-altering decision. "I can't just stand by," she murmured to herself, activating her communication channels and data feeds. "If the Council refuses to act, I must." The night stretched on as Sarah contacted rogue traders, sympathetic officials, and old academy friends. Each conversation added a strand to the fabric of her audacious plan, an unsanctioned mission to deliver aid to Kinara and evacuate as many Yulani as possible. By dawn, the framework of a rescue operation was in place. It would demand stealth, swiftness, and a complete disregard for the potential backlash from the Council. But for Sarah, the path was unequivocal. As the star of Axiom Prime rose over the horizon, casting elongated shadows through her window, Sarah Nguyen felt the full weight of her mission. She was no longer merely a diplomat, she had become a vital lifeline to a dying world. As the pale dawn light filtered through the viewport of Sarah Nguyen's quarters, she placed her last encrypted call. Across the galaxy, on screens secreted in shadowed rooms and quiet corners, a network of allies pledged their discreet support. Each individual, each silent nod, stitched together a tapestry of rebellion against a cold bureaucratic decree. Later, in a secluded dock on the lower tier of Axiom Prime, Sarah met with General Zykor. His towering figure, clad in the ornate armor of his rank, starkly contrasted with her simple, functional attire. His species, the Corvalli, were known for their martial prowess and held esteemed positions within the Galactic Council. Initially dismissive of human capabilities, Zykor's curiosity had been stirred by Sarah's boldness. "Your plan is daring, Nguyen," Zykor rumbled, his deep voice resonating slightly in the vast, empty hangar. "Perhaps too daring. Why should my forces risk their safety for your cause?" Sarah stepped forward, meeting his gaze squarely. "Because, General, you understand the anguish of watching your people suffer. The Council may favor the Corvalli now, but power is fickle. Today it's the Yulani, tomorrow, it could be you." Zykor's eyes narrowed as he pondered her words. After a moment, he gave a slow nod. "Very well. I will provide ships and some of my elite soldiers. But remember, this alliance depends on your leadership. Fail, and our support evaporates." With Zykor's commitment, Sarah's plan acquired the vital force it needed. She spent the ensuing days amid a whirlwind of activity. Maps of Kanara and its neighboring space sprawled across tables, with digital markers pinpointing crucial aspects of their operation, evacuation points, defensive positions, and the automated defense systems requiring deactivation. Her team was an eclectic assembly from the fringes of galactic society: skilled pilots adept at asteroid navigation, hackers capable of infiltrating security networks, and medics versed in a variety of alien physiologies. Each had heeded Sarah's call for reasons both personal and profound. In a secure chamber aboard one of Zykor's vessels, Sarah briefed her crew. The air crackled with tension and anticipation. She detailed the routes, the timing, the signals. Each face, whether human or extraterrestrial, bore an expression of stern resolve. "Remember," Sarah concluded, her voice resolute, "this mission isn't solely about rescuing lives, it's about asserting that all lives matter, regardless of caste or creed. We are not just challenging the Council's verdict, we are contending for the soul of the galaxy." As the team dispersed to finalize their preparations, Sarah took her second-in-command aside, a seasoned pilot named Jax. "Stay vigilant. And keep a particularly watchful eye on our new allies," she instructed in a low tone. "Trust, yet verify. We cannot afford any unforeseen complications." On the eve of the mission, sleep eluded Sarah. She roamed the silent corridors of the ship, pausing at a viewport to gaze at the stars. They appeared indifferent to the imminent struggles below. Wrapped in solitude not from isolation but from the burden of command, she pondered the lives that would soon depend on her decisions. The stealth ship, a sleek vessel engineered for low visibility and rapid movement, lingered silently on the fringes of Kanara's atmosphere. In the dimly lit command deck, Sarah Nguyen stood resolute, surveying her crew, a fusion of human tenacity and alien resolve, all rallied behind a singular cause. Her hand hovered above the console, poised to initiate their most perilous operation to date. "Are all teams in position?" Sarah's voice sliced through the tense silence, her focus locked on the holographic displays mapping their insertion points. Jax, her pilot and second-in-command, nodded, his attention fixed on the atmospheric data. "Ready on your command, Sarah? Stealth fields are at 98% efficiency. We're virtually undetectable." Drawing a deep breath, Sarah allowed the gravity of the moment to settle upon her shoulders before exhaling slowly. "Initiate Phase 1, she ordered, her voice imbued with steely determination. The ship commenced its descent, its exterior plating adapting to mimic the stormy clouds enveloping Kanara, rendering it invisible to casual surveillance. The crew braced themselves as turbulence jostled the vessel, a stark reminder of the planet's unwelcoming environment. Below, Kanara sprawled like a tapestry woven with despair, rampant fires, extensive mining operations, and the desolate settlements of the Yulani. As they approached the designated drop zone, Sarah rallied her team, now clad in mission gear and poised to disembark. "Remember, we have 1 hour to disable the defense network before the larger ships can initiate the evacuation. Stick to the shadows, avoid engagement, and save your heroics. We proceed by the book." Acknowledgments came in the form of terse nods and firm confirmations as team members vanished into the ship's belly where the transport pods awaited. Sarah monitored the display as each pod was smoothly ejected, plummeting toward the planet like stealthy meteors. On the surface, the team immediately faced formidable challenges. The defense nodes were heavily fortified, a clear sign of the Empire's paranoia. Her tech team, comprised of human specialists and a Corvalli hacker named Tren, feverishly worked to infiltrate and disable the network. Node 1 is down, announced Tren, his voice crackling through the calm with a tinge of triumph. Proceeding to the secondary. His update was abruptly cut off by the blare of an alarm. They had been detected. Sarah's pulse quickened as she orchestrated a response, directing two of her swiftest units to create a diversion. Tren, what's your status? She demanded, her fingers deftly navigating her tactical pad to relay real-time updates to her teams. Almost there, just a bit more. Got it. Node 2 is offline, Tren replied, his voice flooded with relief. With the defense systems temporarily incapacitated, Sarah issued the all-clear to the orbiting vessels. Begin evacuation procedures. Tren, well done. Now pull out, we're regrouping. As the evacuation ships descended, cloaked and cautious, Sarah's teams convened, fatigued yet undefeated. They had succeeded. The bewildered yet profoundly grateful Yulani began boarding the vessels. Aboard her own ship, Sarah permitted herself a brief moment to observe the reunions of the Yulani families with their rescuers. The mingling expressions of fear and relief vividly illustrated the stakes of their mission. As the evacuation ships ascended from the scorched expanse of Kanara, a subdued current of adrenaline and cautious optimism permeated the command deck of Sarah Nguyen's stealth ship. The initial phase of their mission was successful, yet the real challenge loomed, ensuring the Yulani refugees' safety and managing the inevitable political repercussions. Standing before a large digital map aglow with blinking lights and plotted trajectories, Sarah conferred with General Zykor. His respect for her leadership, which had crystallized throughout the mission, was palpable as he listened intently to her strategies. We've got multiple patrols converging on our position, Jax reported, his voice laced with urgency. It seems the Council isn't going to let us slip away without a fuss. Acknowledging the report with a nod, Sarah rapidly assessed her options. Zykor, ready your fighters. We may need a diversion to cover our retreat. Understood, Zykor responded, his voice a deep rumble of controlled power. I'll lead the sortie personally. They'll have their hands full. As Zykor and his squadron geared up to draw off the incoming patrols, Sarah focused on the larger tactical picture. The refugee ships required time and cover to make the hyperspace jump. Every second they could gain was crucial. The stealth ship subtly shuddered as it engaged its cloaking mechanism, melding seamlessly into the star-studded backdrop of space. Sarah watched as Zykor's fighters detached and charged toward the enemy, their aggression mirroring the general's formidable reputation. Her command deck screens flickered with the chaos of combat laser blasts, nimble dodges, and the resonant booms of distant explosions. Evacuation ships are clear and setting up for the jump, announced one of her officers, his voice threaded with relief. Allowing herself a fleeting moment of relief, Sarah's focus returned to Zykor's skirmish. The general was executing more than a mere distraction, he was significantly disrupting the Council's forces, sowing confusion in their ranks. General, you've done enough, Sarah's voice transmitted over the comm, tinged with urgency. Pull back now. We can't risk losing you or your squadron. After a tense pause filled with static, Zykor's voice returned. Not yet, Sarah. Give us a few more minutes. As Sarah watched the last refugee ship vanish into hyperspace, she confirmed, all ships have made the jump. She then insisted, more forcefully, General, return to the fleet now. That's an order. With the refugee ships safely away, the remaining vessels began to regroup. Zykor's fighters, some bearing the scars of battle, made their way back, their mission accomplished. As they docked, Sarah greeted Zykor at the airlock, her expression a complex tapestry of gratitude, and mild reproach. "You took a significant risk today," she stated, her tone firm yet her eyes reflecting deep respect. A rare smile cracked Sycor's rugged face. "It was worth it. You've shown me that some risks are indeed worth taking." Back on Axiom Prime, the ripple effects of their daring rescue began to spread across the galaxy, sparking debates, inciting protests, and fueling conversations in every civilized corner. Visuals of the Yulani's dire situation and their rescue by humans awakened the conscience of countless beings. In the war room, as reports of growing support for their cause streamed in, Sarah realized they had not only saved lives but potentially shifted the galactic paradigm. "This is just the beginning," she mused aloud. "Now we must prepare for what comes next." As the final starship carrying Yulani refugees entered the safety of the human-protected sector, Sarah Nguyen stood on the bridge of the flagship, her gaze transfixed on the star-studded expanse beyond. The successful evacuation had catapulted her from a diplomat to a galactic symbol of defiance against the oppressive policies of the Galactic Council. "Sarah, the Council is demanding an audience," Jax reported, piercing the quiet that had enveloped the bridge. "They would," Sarah responded, her voice imbued with calm irony. "Prepare the transmission. It's time we presented our perspective." In the communication room, Sarah faced the holographic representations of the Galactic Council members, their expressions ranging from skeptical to openly hostile. "Counselors," she began, her tone respectful yet firm, "I appear before you not just as humanity's representative but as a defender of the fundamental rights this council was meant to uphold." A murmur spread through the assembly as she continued, "The Yulani sought our aid, and we responded, as any of you would for your people. We chose to save lives, even when you chose to look away." The head counselor, a stern Vraxian, cut in, "You defied direct orders, Ambassador Nguyen. Your actions could have triggered a war." Sarah's reply was swift and resolute. "With all due respect, Counselor, when the choice is between war and genocide, I will always stand with life. We need to reflect on what this council truly represents." Her words resonated through the chamber, and support began to stream in from across the galaxy. Civilizations previously neutral now expressed their disapproval of the council's decisions. Buoyed by this support, Sarah pressed on, "Today, I propose a new resolution for consideration, a Galactic Protection Act, to ensure that no species, regardless of caste or creed, is abandoned. Let us be each other's guardians, not wardens of division." Her proposal ignited a vigorous debate among the council members, with many of the younger species rallying behind Sarah's vision. The session extended into hours of fiery discussions and diplomatic parleys. Back on the flagship, General Zykor approached Sarah, his earlier skepticism replaced by admiration. "You've sparked a movement larger than any of us, Sarah. Whatever the future holds, my fleet and I stand with you." "Thank you, General," Sarah replied, her smile conveying genuine gratitude. "This is only the beginning." When the council session resumed, the head counselor announced, "Considering the recent events and Ambassador Nguyen's compelling argument, we shall put the Galactic Protection Act to a vote." The vote was decisively in favor. The Act's passage marked a historic moment in the galaxy, a future now envisioned on the pillars of solidarity and mutual respect. The galaxy erupted in celebrations at the news. Across distant worlds and within the quiet halls of the flagship, beings of all species celebrated the dawn of a new era. On the bridge, Sarah observed the jubilations, a mix of accomplishment and the daunting weight of what lay ahead. "Today, we celebrate," she addressed her crew. "Tomorrow, we resume our efforts, ensuring that this new law is more than mere words, that it becomes a promise fulfilled for every being in this galaxy."